Omar, repeat guest, special guest, all the same. Check in with Anthony Williams, financial advisor, head of Vivid Advisory.
Yep.
Let's talk about, we were talking about it before, let's talk about it again. Vivid Advisory is going to take over New York.
We're taking over New York.
All right,
We're
so
gonna
can you
be-
tell people more or less what you're doing?
Yeah. So Vivid Advisory, a boutique financial planning firm, and we work primarily with executives, business owners,
That's your target demographic.
physicians, and lawyers.
Okay.
Age ranges 45 plus, but we also don't shy away from working with the young professionals. And so the idea being in New York City, there's not a brand name in New York City that's known for financial planning. So the idea is, if you're a young professional, you're getting to it, you're a visionary, you got to know about Vivid Advisory. And so we're going to be doing that via local programming, doing events, art events, wine events, dinner parties, things of that nature.
Right.
And just to really just add a social
Component
aspect to just wealth. And there's some other things that I have in store, but that's the goal, that's the vision, and we just gonna make it happen little by little.
So it seems like it's gonna be like it's an experience model, right?
Experience
Bring people in, speak about it. They know. I mean, usually people that are moving already want to move with people that are moving.
Exactly.
Right? It becomes a thing, right? So then, I mean, you might find your stud at 25 that's making a lot of money, doesn't know what to do with it. So I don't know. You're in Harlem right now.
Yep, Harlem right now.
Right, and you're looking to move into the Bronx eventually once I finish this place.
Right, of course. Now you'll be my landlord.
644 Soundview.
You will be my landlord one day. And it's gonna be crazy because when we signed the lease, I'm like, dude, I can't believe. I mean, we can't believe it. It's just, I wish it would happen sooner, right?
What are you doing?
Yeah. So because outside of running the firm, I'm also director of growth and development for a Fortune 500 company.
Okay.
Right, and so in that capacity, I'm in charge of recruiting, developing talent. And I chose Harlem to be that first location because it was an easy sell, right, to that company. Up and coming,
minorities,
a lot of black culture, etc. But I'm from the Bronx,
right?
Hardcore from the Bronx, and so eventually.
But that's not that far.
It's not that far. It's right there. But to be able to bring an office to the Bronx, that'd be amazing because I'm from the Bronx, and I wish I would have been afforded some financial literacy opportunities when I was younger. And so So it's in the brain, it's in the vision, but it's a matter of reality catching up.
Well, I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and we were talking about financial literacy. And one of the things that, I'm self-taught. I meet people, I went to college, I did all those things, but I'm learning every day, right? So how many times do they come into this office and they're like, a guy knocked on my door, offered me $500,000 cash for my house, older person, they don't speak English, they want to speak to somebody who speaks Spanish, I speak Spanish, and they're like, what do you think? I'm like, well, how bad? Well, first of all, how bad do you need the money? Oh, I just want to retire my country. Or then I'm like, okay, so let's do a market analysis, right? So I check the value. Fair market value is $1.1 million.
Oh,
so I'm like, everything in Soundview, Class and Point right now is $1 million,
which is crazy,
right?
Which is insane.
You look, it's the hood. No offense,
it's the fake hood,
right? But
fake hood,
but the people are like, what? Like, they didn't believe. And then I've had deals where I end up listing the property through my real estate arm. We sell it. They get a check for $1 million net. Whereas they would have took 500, but they didn't know any better. They didn't know what it was worth. They didn't know how to Google. Like, how do I go online and check my value? They don't know that. It's that generation, the boomers, and a little after. They're and I don't feel. I get it. Business, get it where you can, but also there is a predatory element to it when you have other people coming into different communities,
right?
With which seems like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, $500,000 cash,
relative,
but not if you can make $1 million. Right?
You could double it, and so I think there's a lot of communities that do that. Like, for example, I live in the South Bronx right now, up and coming, but I saw a company came through, made everything luxury, and then they did a cash out refinance. They put in 50, did a cash out refinance for 60.
Right.
So they made about 10 million.
Right.
And they left everything to dry. Shitty property.
Fall apart.
It looked good. But it's not really good. And so I think that's why, as a community, we have to stick together and stay together and really connect with the professionals, the quality professionals, know what they talk about.
That, and also people that come from where you come from. Right. Because there's the culture thing, right? Like, me going to your house and then making a certain type of food is not the same as me trying to make that food. Same ingredients,
right?
Different vibes and soul, right? So it's the same thing. It's like people come and like I want to just kind of hammer on financial literacy. Financial literacy doesn't mean 2 + 2. financial literacy means knowing if you get something. Like, how many people inherit stuff? They don't know what they're doing with it.
They don't.
Right? They're like, oh, it's costing money. And you know, honestly, sometimes people are not in a particular economic or financial place where they can support an asset.
Right.
If that's the case, then, you know, talk about liquidating, right? That's fine. But they should know their options, right?
They should.
And I'm gonna kick it back to you. Life insurance, right? Like, life insurance policies are in place to help who the primary breadwinner is. Usually it was dad or, you know, whatever. I don't want to go too crazy. People say, mom was whatever.
Yeah, right.
Whoever the primary breadwinner is, if that person gets knocked down, there's a problem for the whole family. And I'm not talking about
Whole family.
I'm talking about your husband, your wife, your kids. Then you have grandparents that now are depending on that generation, right? Well, I'm proof of that. Then you have aunts and uncles from other places that always give that call. Yo, what do you think about this? Yo, what do you think? Like, there's a lot to it. And most of the time, especially in the communities that we come that are marginalized, they feel like life insurance is a luxury. And you know what? If they don't have anything, okay. But also, look, me personally, I've buried my parents, like, meaning economically. And what if I couldn't? You know what? And there's a lot of people, like, and I'm not judging anybody, but the saddest thing in the world for me to see is a GoFundMe account to bury somebody. That shit fucks with me so much. I don't know. I'm like, fuck, what are you doing? Like,
right. And that's why also, just coming back to this point, that's why I think it's important where we need to have representation in our industry, right? Which is why I want to be able to get more people of color into financial planning, because it's a tough industry. Mm-hmm. Like, it's sales, it's business building, but it is possible.
And it's a long game. It's not like you don't make a big bag of cash in the beginning. It's
you
continual.
know, it takes some time. Right. And then also coming down to, like, the life insurance thing you talked about, right? It's like, well, you know, people think that, oh, I want to pay the least amount. I want to get the least amount of coverage. Right. In all reality, I think life insurance is one of the ways you can create generational wealth out of thin air, right? And so, as an example, let's say someone got a policy for like $5 million, right? Depending upon your health, your age, it might be like less than $150 a month, $200 a month.
Right.
But that's if you're someone who's 20, 25.
You're young enough to understand
30,
what you're doing. But at that age, who's thinking like that?
No one's thinking like that. The right people are thinking like that. But I think to give people some tangible things, right? Well, how do you develop, how much do you need, right? And so it was very simple. It's called the human life value calculation.
Okay.
Because like you said before, all our lives, we have economic value, whether we're supporting mom, dad, aunt, uncle, brother, sister.
Second families.
It's crazy. And I think just being, first generation, we just have a lot on our plate. And so what you should do is take your income, divide it by 4%. I'll give you an example. Someone making 100,000, divide that by 4%, I'll give you 2.5 million. That means that if I wanted to economically replace that person, cut me a check for 2.5 mil, I will invest it at 4% interest, and that's $100,000.
Right.
And the idea is to not touch the money. Let the 2.5 mil sit there, let it grow. So if the market does 10%, well, guess what? It takes 4%. And you let that money continue to grow. So that's a good way to look at it. And then the other point I want to make is there's 3 times in your life and you're going to need to replace income, right? 1, pass away. 2, get disabled. And 3, retire. So it's a nice tool you can use to really understand, like, what's that lump sum I need to be able to accomplish set goals. Because I do think that just in general, people are underinsured. And when I flash
If they're insured.
And when I flash out numbers like, hey, you need $4 million, they're like, $4 million? I'm like, well,
what?
But that's what the wealthy are doing.
Right.
And so, and it's very accessible. Like, we're not trying to gatekeep here. And I think people try to make it seem like it's very complex. One needs to know. No, it's out there. You just gotta, are you ready? Do you have the mindset to, like, do the things that wealthy people do now that you have it's accessible to you?
Right. Well, all right, let me speak to the kids at home right now listening. All right, so this is what happens when you're vertically climbing. And what I mean vertically climbing is anybody who's trying to get into the different tax bracket, do shit that your family never did. Like, I was talking to a good friend of mine. Compared to my parents, I'm on another scale. Hopefully my kids will be on another scale, if that's their goal. If they don't care, I don't care. But here's the thing that most people don't understand. I want them to all hear it. As you accumulate things, real estate, art, high-end vehicles, I'm just giving you 3 examples I've gone through. You have to insure them because your house is worth, I'm just using numbers, $1 million, but you have $300,000 in art in your house. The house burns down. If you don't properly insure that, you lose that money. I have had personally clients with $2 million houses with the minimum insurance have floods, with $400,000 in furniture, get a check for
Insane.
50,000. And he's like, Omar, what happened? I was like, bro, you said you wanted the cheapest insurance. This is before you actually moved in. I saw what you were buying. Again, I'm not the life insurance guy, but
Not even the property casualty guy.
They come to me as the mortgage guy or real estate guy, and I become their point of contact, their confidant, and I'm like, look, man, I don't think it's enough. Oh, that's plenty. I don't want to pay that much a month. Okay, so then this is what you get.
Listen, if we saw what was the health worth? $2 million.
$2 million.
You telling me you're not willing to? You got a $2 million house. You telling me you can't pay an extra $3,000 a year in premium?
Well, these are the vertical climbers that I'm just saying this because I want you to change your mindset as you accumulate more share. Another example, the car I drive. People are like, oh, it's a nice car. It is a nice car. I like it. It's like a toy for me, right? But I had to get gap insurance. Why? Because my regular insurance company's not going to cover the whole thing. I didn't know about that shit till I bought it. But price you pay, right? You want to look fly, you gotta insure it. And these are things that like I want people to understand. Yeah. There's more to it.
And I feel like if you call it insurance, like insurance, we all hate insurance, right? Like my car insurance, I pay for this thing, I don't get nothing back unless I get into a car accident. I think it's called leverage.
Okay.
Let's make it sound cool, right? Let's use leverage and let's transfer the risk to somebody else.
Okay.
And if you use that terminology, you're like, oh, that sounds real nice. Right. So let's leverage, because with insurance, that's what it is. You spend $1, you get 10, right? If you buy that gap insurance, let's say it's like $3,000 or whatever for the year, or $4,000. You say your car's worth $80,000, $90,000. Well, I'd rather pay $3 to protect 100%. Right. Let me create $1 to create 10. So let's leverage and let's transfer the risk to someone else.
Right. That's a good way of showing it.
You gotta make it sound good.
Right. But all right, go back to this. So real estate. You buy real estate because so many gurus online. I love you all. I have nothing against anybody. Shoot your shot, bro. Cash flow. Cash flow derives from the property that you're invested in, and your tenants are paying that, and whatever is left after you pay the mortgage, tax, insurance, everything, that's your cash flow. Cash flow is really to protect the asset and not take away from your pocket, because what happens in our communities a lot, and this is actually tying into our conversation. They get a $5 million policy, right? They ball out. I want to buy $1 million house, of course, because I'm a $5 million guy now. I gotta buy $1 million house. Oh, you know what? I gotta have a $200,000 car. I've never had a real job in my fucking life, but I gotta have a $200,000 car. I'm a $5 million guy. As you erode all that, there's no income coming in. Where does that happen? Not only on marginalized communities that don't have financial literacy. I'll take it a step further. How many NFL players are bankrupt? How many, like, MLB's kind of covered. They have better contracts. NBA too. NBA, some guys work regular jobs after a certain, unless you're the top echelon where you're making billions.
Right.
There's a lot of guys. Last guy on the bench is $500,000 a year, and that sounds like a lot of money to us, but not for the rest of your life. Because you're only playing, if you're gifted, if you're fucking LeBron, 20 years. If you're regular, 10 years maybe. If you get hurt, 1 year, right? If you get hurt, you out, right? You out. So these are the things that people have to think about, because they say, oh, you see that big check. And I'm not saying, be a miser. Be strategic. Get with somebody who knows how to move money around. Somebody who knows how to shield assets, who knows about appreciation, depreciation, cash flow. These are all concepts that we all have to know as just working adults, if we're trying to get into that game. If we like going to work every day and just renting a apartment, that's cool too, bro.
Do whatever.
Do you think?
So then you bring that up, right? So then I think through, like, who are some of the key people you need to have on your team, right? And I used to say the A team. Okay. The A team was accountant, attorney, advisor. But as I tend to get more and more experience and just see more and more wealth where it derives from, I think we have to expand that. So I think it's going to be get a financial advisor, get an attorney, a real estate attorney, and also an estate planning attorney, get a good CPA, get a good real estate agent, get a good mortgage broker, and then also get a good business advisor, right? Because I truly believe that to really build generational wealth, and multiple generations, not just one, not just two, but 5+. You need to have business ownership. You need to have equity exposure, so stock market investments,
right?
And then also real estate. You have real estate exposure. So if you can have that team put together and have conversation with you being the CEO, it makes it so much easier. And you have to make sure these people speak to each other, right? And so I think it's important to, because they can do whatever they want to do, but they set the targets, they set the goals, and they have the advisors to really more so help them think through, what's the right thing. But then also, let's say we have a meeting with one of our clients, Omar, and you're like, hey, Ant, they should do this deal. I'm like, well, then you think about this, then a third, about this estate tax bill, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the CPA is going to say, hey, yeah, but what about this? And then it may add more complexity, but it's much more, I would say, strategic, and you think through everything now rather than just looking at that one thing.
Right. It's just more defense. Well, certain people are put in a position to play defense, and some people will play offense. Some people are like, yo, we can make this. Other people are like, oh, we have to protect this. So it becomes that game. But also, the one thing I want to say, and this might turn people off, and I look at the camera every time I say shit like this, it's like, yo, bro, like not everyone's gonna be the CEO who's gonna be doing this. Like, you could give 5 people $10 million each, and you'll have 5 different results. So if you're not about it, that's cool. Figure out what you're about and play that game. Don't go online and look at all these gurus. Shout out to all you guys. And be like, yo, I could do that, because money leaves really quickly, right?
Oh,
money leaves very quickly. So if you're not used to making money, like, for example, if you can generate $1 million a year, then you can play around and invest $300,000. You could do that because you can replace it. If you got this $5 million, you used to making $50,000 a year.
Oh,
your brain can't even conceive certain concepts. The levers you're talking about, they're like, hell no. Why? Because they've never played there.
Right.
So that's the part as a financial advisor. I don't know how many people you get that get inheritances, and then you got to talk to them.
I see it. I've seen two situations, right? I've seen people, get some life insurance coverage, death benefits, let's say like 500 grand,
Okay.
and they'll blow it in 2 years. And it's because spent all the money on going out. I remember family member of mine got like, good amount of money from a legal settlement. The money gone, right? And so, but I also see
While you were already in the game.
What?
Well, you already.
No, I wasn't in the game at that time. I was still helping them take money at the ATM at that point, right?
And that's the thing. People don't have financial literacy.
They don't, and so it's easy to get got, like you said, just like your client from earlier, offered $500,000 for a $1.5 million property, which is insane, by the way. But I think one, it's get your like, I think financial literacy is there's 3 components to it, right? I think one, psychological component. The second one, I think, would be mindset. And the third will be your environment, right? And what I mean by psychological, it's like, well, what was money like growing up? Were you someone that was, in the household that people talk about not having enough money? Did you have a scarcity mentality, right?
That's most of the immigrants.
Right,
Most of our first. I was raised like that, but I went against it, and we had friction. But eventually,
exactly,
she saw my way, because I was like, no, I posted something yesterday about turning people off. I'd be like, yo, I have to just turn you. What? Because this is where I'm going. I don't give a fuck what you say. No offense. But that's where I'm going. So either you roll away, I'll see you when I'm there. Then that's what it becomes. But that's not, like, my wife tells me all the time, like, not everybody's built like that.
They not, and so we got the psychological aspect.
Okay.
And I deal with that a lot, right? Because then, to give you an example, I have a client. They'll be sitting on, let's say, 500 grand. I'm like, why are you sitting on this amount of cash? Like, well, it makes me feel good. I'm like, okay, cool, but like, you only need like less than half of that in there. We just invest it. But that was a psychological issue, because I asked them, I was like, tell me more. Growing up, father lost a job. We had to move out our house. We got evicted, et cetera, et cetera. And so, okay, makes sense. The second thing is mindset, right? It's, are you someone that is okay with spending $10,000 a year on vacation versus putting $10,000 into an investment account? What's your mindset like? And then last piece would then be community.
I'm okay with both. Sorry. I feel like
you can do both. It's possible.
I'm okay with both.
You can do both, right?
I don't believe in either or.
Exactly. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, make it work.
Moderation.
Yeah,
moderation. Last thing is community. It's people around you. You know that saying, right? You are who you surround yourself with. And so if you run a bunch of people that like to go out in the club every night, or people that like to just spend money on vacation, people that want to talk about the BS stuff on social media, but don't really talk about the real, like, okay, how do we focus on economic prosperity? Well, guess what? You are just like those people.
You're talking about high quality people.
High quality folks.
High quality people.
We move different.
That's a big thing. Especially coming out the hood.
High quality folks. And they're out there, you know what I'm saying? But I do think that if you aren't in the right community, I think you should be the one to bring up these conversations. Like, hey, check this out. And if you get shut down, and all right, cool, they can still be your boys or your girls, but you have to just go find that community somewhere else, right? So
that right there, I think you touched on something. I think we got to stop there, because a big deal is we all grow, right? Some people don't want to grow, and that's fine. Some people want to grow. And some people are desperate to grow. Like I was desperate to grow. When I grew up, I was like, this ain't it, bro. Like we fucked up. Like this, fuck this. Like I was,
Right.
I didn't know how. I never knew the how.
Yep.
I just knew the why. I was like, yo, once I gotta get this, gotta work. And I believe education was the way because my mother used to press that. She didn't even speak English that well, so I was her accountant, attorney, doctor, translator when I was 12. So I kind of understood. I was like, well, we're here in America. We gotta know how this moves. Luckily, I always feel the people on your journey.
Right.
I met a lot of friends that put me into positions that at the time they were just jobs, but I was exposed to like the 1%, you know, as a doorman. I met, you know, screenwriters, actors, all that, and they were just regular people.
Hey man, you was a doorman, now you need a doorman.
I was a doorman, now I have to interview for doorman. So, and then, you know,
I like
school, right? Going to NYU, like you meet people that can afford it. Like I remember my guidance counselor telling me, "Yo, I don't think you should apply for this school. It's very expensive." And it was unconscious bias at the time because, you know, obviously I'm Spanish and whatever, and I come from modest means, but that's really my decision to make. Right. And as a kid, as a 50-year-old man, I'm 50. I could say
crazy.
That, I could say that now, but as a 16-year-old kid, had I believed that person, that could have changed my roadmap to my whole life.
And I feel like there's a lot of that out there for real. Like I mean, I'm fortunate enough to no one ever told me, hey, because I went to Howard University. Tuition was like $45,000 a year, and in my mind, I didn't even think about how to pay for it. I'm gonna just go.
Right.
I'll figure it out. But I know some people had these similar opportunity, but they're like, oh, I don't want to take on debt.
They talk themselves out of it.
I don't want to talk to themselves. I don't want to take on debt. This is too much, etc. But I think that me going to that school is probably the best investment I've ever made, and I figured it out as I got there. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I just want people to know that. And I think we should go to debt conversation, right? Okay. I feel like let's normalize how to use debt, the right type of debt, for the right means. And so So
well, let's also go to mindset, right? Because I had this conversation 2 days ago with one of my homies talking about our kids. Two of my kids, one graduated NYU, one's finishing Iona. The other one just went another path. He's doing really well in Target. His kid was like, I don't want to school, I don't want money. If I could dig through my archives of content, I know I did it in that room. I was like, you go into debt for school, right? Then when you get out, you gotta make something happen.
You do.
Right? So I'm not telling everybody to strap themselves up. I'm just saying, look, I am the person that moves with necessity. Now, I've trained myself to move with urgency every day, but that is a practice that I've had to instill in myself. As a young kid, I wasn't like that. I was like, oh, test due tomorrow. All right, so I'll stay up all night. Like if you break down your personality, you can really, and you're honest with yourself, you can really see what motivates you and what pulls your levers. So I'm like, listen, bro, you just drifting. I use that word a lot. You're just drifting through life, and you can live with your mom if you want. Eventually, you might meet a girl. She might ask you what you do, and you say, I live with my mom, and that shit ain't sexy, right? Like, I mean, but when I was growing up, listen, driver's license 17. Why? I just want to be out. Why? I don't know. I just didn't want to be home. I want to see what the world was about. I wanted to move. A lot of this. I mean, I don't know if it's because of COVID. I don't know if it's a generational thing because of the internet. They seem to be very laxed, and the scary part is my generation comes from desperation, right? We had to make it happen. You've heard the saying, right? Bad times create great men create good times create weak men.
Exactly.
Right? So it's a cycle. It goes through. I grew up in the shit times, so I know I'm a great man.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take away from that, but they got to understand it's mindset. It's like, yo, man, what do I do? What can I do? How can I be? Because everybody wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be a podcaster. Everyone. Why? Why do you want to do it? Oh, I want to make $1 million. Okay, cool.
But why?
How
like ask themselves why like 10 times.
No,
why?
But what are you gonna do with it?
Right.
What are you gonna do with it? Oh, I don't know. I can tell you what I'm gonna do with it. I'll be like, yo, if I make 10 million, 1 million's going there. I'm starting my foundation. Like I have a plan.
Right.
Whether I hit it or not, the plan's there. When you when you know your why, the how's easy, right? Jim Rohn says that. So I already have that. A lot of the kids I'm seeing, and I affect them because I got so many kids. I got kids in the gym hitting me on DMs. Yo, I saw you at the gym. Can you recommend any books? There's some kids that are looking. Some kids are not looking only because they're being fed. And I know you heard this on Instagram the other day. Some coach said it. I loved it. He's like, I want a kid who's hungry, not who just wants to eat.
Right.
Because if a kid's hungry, he's gonna find a way to eat. If Gez just wants to
You
eat,
just sit
if
there
it's right
waiting for the
here,
food.
I'm gonna eat it. Yeah. If not,
I'll just wait. I'll starve
There
if
you
I
go.
need to.
There you go. And that,
So mindset is like the biggest thing.
I believe. I think that's what separates all of us.
Yeah.
We go the same thing.
Because we all are capable. Like we got two hands,
Two arms,
two
we got the
legs,
health.
we got a brain, we got the health, you know. And so it's what's difference makers is really the mindset. And I spent a lot of time on mindset, honestly. There's so many times I wanted to quit what I was doing.
This industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Like at least 10 times. I remember this was back in 2018, actually.
Okay.
2018, it was my first full-time year. And I got off to a very fast start. Like in 6 months, I led the agency and amount of clients acquired.
You're feeling yourself. Yeah.
I'll feel myself.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I think like the second 6 months, I did shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why? I still was trying to figure out why. And then almost quit. I even got to the point where I even interviewed somewhere else. And it was like,
don't hold it against them.
don't hold it against me.
Yeah.
And they offered me, it was a salary, it was like, 45, 50. Something in me.
Just to get you back and forth to work is what that is.
Yeah.
Right? Get you on the same.
But here's what happened. I gave up my freedom. I gave up when I showed up to work. I gave up, I would have to work certain weekends. I gave up flexibility. I gave up unlimited earning potential.
Okay.
Right. And then, and it got to a point where, I don't know what it is, but something in me, something deep inside me was like, no. I pushed through it. And then I had my mentor and we kind of came with something. And then literally 4 months later, I got a check for the same amount they were offering me.
Oh, one check.
And in a month.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, okay, this is what we're doing. And
so, pay attention. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was insane. So I think mindset wise, I was very resilient. And as I was going through my situation, I think in retrospect, it was something along the lines of like a seasonal depression, right? And then it was like, well, how do I fix this? How do I deal with this? Meditation, working out. And then literally within that same year, when I had my big year, I was like, it kept happening. It was like up and down, up and down. And I just tapped into resources. I let people know what was going on. I was being vulnerable. And that led to me getting a life coach, and that was a pretty penny, but it was amazing. So coming back to like the mindset, it's like, figure it out. Like as basic as it sounds, like, no, figure it out. Be resourceful, right? Because if you're not resourceful, it's like, you can have all the resources in the world, but if you can't tap into what you got, then it's like, what's the point, right? So I always look for people who are resourceful, because I'm gonna tell you to go figure something out. I may not know the answer, but go figure it out, please. And if you go and search for it, you come back with some answers. Oh, that's a keeper right there. So it'll be important to share that story on that front. Yeah,
I think being resourceful is better than having resources, because I think people have been attracted to work with me because I've always done so much with so little. Like right now, you see the building. Anybody else be like, that's crazy. You'll see. I'll just keep going. Like I'll make it a hot spot. I'll make it what it's supposed to be.
Man.
Well, you can see it because you have a vision, because you started your own thing too, right? Other people are like, oh, that's how much? That's gonna be like 300,000. Oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make it, right? Like so.
I already know.
I'm gonna make it.
Hey, listen, it's already happened in the mindset. Reality's got to catch up.
Right. Once you commit, you go, and that's the difference between people, because people, like, going back to that conversation about, that. School. Look, we know you don't like school. I didn't like school. I
hated school.
I didn't like school either, but I knew that there was more to this world on the block, on the corner.
Exactly.
There was more to this world than my mom, who's a meat rapper, rest in peace, who doesn't speak English in America. Like, I had to find out more on my own. God bless you. There's life coaches. When I was coming up, there was none of that shit, because they were like, yo, the brown kid, he should stay over there. The brown, like, he shouldn't even be over here. Oh, are you the busboy? Like, I'm the waiter. Like, it was just so much more. It was so much more aggressive in terms of the intolerance, and I'm not mad about it. Made me who I am, but now you have DEI, you have this, you have all these things we're trying to equalize.
Maybe have DEI, maybe.
Right, but I know what you mean. But the conversation was out there, right? Like if people, we're aware, like unconscious bias, we're aware. Back when they didn't give a fuck. Like, yo, if you're not bringing money to the table, what we talking about? Like, I don't care what color you are, but most brown people, black people, weren't bringing what they perceived as high value things. So they were just like, yo, whatever. Like, you become whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. And I think it, because to your point about they weren't bringing it to the table, they probably didn't know how the resources or the know-how. And I think
No, financially, they didn't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, how does this work? Like, yo, bro, when I first started speculating on real estate, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. The guy was like, look, you find me a building that I want to buy. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to pay you 6% of the sales price. He's like, that's a real estate fee. This is before the internet was prevalent. Like, this is 04 or 05 when it started.
that's crazy. That's when you had to go to the library and go look something up.
So I'm like, I was like, wait a minute. All right, 6%. And I started doing math because I was 300,000, 18,000. I was like, one transaction, 18,000. Let me try. And I did one. And I got a check for 18,000. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Then I kept going, but then information started catching up. And then I started educating myself because nobody's going to educate you. They're just going to be like, yo, we'll keep you here. And I was like, yo, hold on. Da, 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 da. Anyway, my belief is that it's very individual. Now, you can influence those things with being around the right people. But like I said before, my chain started up. Like I said before, you can give 10 people the same options. You can give 10 people the same opportunities and get 10 separate results. So there's an intrinsic value in things and people that have to want. I mean, you used the word before, I want to touch on representation. The reason for the podcast is to see another brown brother, talking about relevant, financially literate shit with no agenda. I don't want to sell you shit. He is not trying to sell you shit. If you need help, sure, reach out. But I'm not saying, hey, call this or discount card. I'm not saying any of that. But there's not enough of this. There's too much angling. There's too much, the IRS guys. Oh, if you brand your shirt and you do this and you do that, yo, bro, you're going to jail, bro. Well, with Trump in power, I'm sorry to say, you probably won't go to jail because he's defunding everybody. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much bad information, right? The reason for the highlights are to give people, good people, good people to actually refer to and maybe call upon if they need it. And not every call that I get or you get is a good call. Sometimes I get called, like this morning I got a call that was referred by somebody. He's like, oh, that's crazy. I was like, well, look at your situation. I'm not saying you're wrong. It could be crazy to you. To me, you're telling me this is what you need. I can do this in 10 days. If that is not enough for you, then, figure out your own thing. No offense.
You're keeping it real. You're not looking to overpromise. You're being straight up. You're not trying to just.
And I do this.
Right.
Like I know where you go. Oh, you have no COs on your property? You have no COs. Okay. And you think you're gonna get conventional loan? Go do that. Go waste 90 to 120 days of your life. And then you're gonna come back and go, oh, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I do this. It's like me telling you something about life. I have no fucking clue, bro. Like, yo, I have to trust you, right? I have to trust you enough to understand what you're saying is professional and is well researched, right? But that's the part where it gets a little ticky for tack because people go on the internet, going back to all the influencers.
These influencers.
It's not a shot. I gotta narrate it. I gotta context it, because I want you to see what I see, right? It's like, all right, here's a great example. Me and Anthony like to play basketball. No way in hell am I going to the A. It's okay. He's young. Not me, but I keep it real. I like to play. I like to play for recreation.
Right.
I'm not getting the $1 billion contract with Nike. It's just not gonna happen. It's okay. But if you tell me I'm a ball player, yeah, I'm a ball player. How much do you score? I don't know. It depends on
the I shoot like 10 shots, like 15 shots. I shoot. That's it going.
I know how to shoot. But it just because you can change. You can kind of like change positioning on so many things to make it look a certain way. And I'm here to tell you, at the end of the day, like, especially with finances, right? Like, finances are finite for certain people. And you want to have the right people not trying to churn you.
Churn for fees.
That's another thing. I mean, I'm sure you run into that.
All the time.
Okay.
To a point where it makes my job 10 times harder. It's like, hey.
It's like they were in a bad relationship. And they're coming to you now, right? It's like a damaged girl or guy.
Yeah, and then it's like, I get it, which is why I've also changed the way I do business over the last 3 years, where in order for you to get any advice or plan from me, I'm going to charge you a fee.
Okay.
Straight up. Hey, this is how I get paid. Now, what you do with the information, what you do with the plan is up to you. I can help you implement, but...
You want to come back, that's cool.
If you want to come back, cool. Totally fine. So I think that's very important. And then, it's one of those things where you need to have the right team and also understand who you're speaking to, because with these social media influencers, like, I post content. I know the things that I can say to make content go crazy. But because I'm a board certified financial planner, I'm a Series 7 license.
Yeah, already
Series 6. I have these things, and we're controlled by these regulatory bodies where it's like, hey, you can't say this, can't say that, because the shit that people saying out there is wild. I remember this one guy, one of my clients sent me a video of this guy talked about this one investment fund.
He's like, Anthony, right? Right?
Why
don't you put me on?
He's like, is this true? And I went to go look at the video. The guy was like, yeah, you put in 20,000, and then you're gonna get double your money every 6 months for the rest of your life. And I was like, what? This is insane. And so I think the people that actually do this stuff, it's like, one, we don't have the time because we're actually doing this stuff.
Right, we're actually making money.
And then we don't need to sell and make things sound super sexy for you to eventually buy a course or buy something from me. You know what I'm saying? It's like more so like, hey, we doing this in, what is it called? IRL, in real life. That's actually a thing. I heard that from
I'm gonna start.
from Alex Ramosi. They say IRL, in real life.
Okay.
And so being that we're like in this phase.
Let's steal that.
IRL. We're at IRL. but I think it's one of those things where I think with like this advance in AI technology, et cetera, let's get back to what's real. In real life, doing in-person conversations, in-person dinner, in-person meetings, so we know what's up. Like, I feel like if I meet somebody,
I'm an IRL specialist.
IRL specialist, because I feel like I can better gauge somebody in 5 seconds of meet you in person versus we like a little virtual meeting and we're video, because I can't see I can't look at your eyes.
You can't even feel the energy.
You can't feel the energy.
Right.
And so you got to just do IRL
shit. Yeah.
Get a hustler IRL.
I'm doing IRL shit right now. I'm doing IRL shit. I like that. Like, that's great. You put me on today. All right, I know you got to wrap up. So tell the people where they can reach you. And this might become a series. We might do some stuff every quarter.
I'm here.
Because look, this is what I believe. And I know we have to wrap up. I have to say something. If you're in the right circle, everybody's growing, everybody's evolving, and everybody should be helping each other.
Exactly.
Right? And like, yo, this is what I did. Or I'll give you a quick example. I know it's weird. Quick example. 3 years ago, I jumped into the NFT market because my boys were telling me to do it.
I remember that story, yo.
Right? Mm-hmm. I didn't tell anybody about it. Why? Because I was like, yo, if they lose,
it's on you.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, you swindled me, right? I ended up coming up 8 times. I told you what I could have came up.
You told me.
I could have came up a lot more, but I won. So let's leave it there. But I think about it now, but like, I should have texted everybody, yo, bro, this is what I'm gonna do. Could go crazy. Could lose 5 G's, pick your poison, right? And then everybody would have been up. And then everybody would be like, oh, you're the man. So I got to let go of that fear too, because I'm not selling you that. I'm telling you, this is what I'm doing.
As long as you be upfront, just be upfront, yo.
No, I'm telling you, this is what I'm doing. If you want to do it, it could be crazy, it could be shitty, but I'm in. So you want to get in? And because everybody always, well, how am I replacing you? I was like, no, it's not a pyramid scheme, bro. I'm just telling you, this is what it is. But yo, bro, that's some people that are always exposed to that, right?
Right. And there's there's a lot of bad actors out there for sure, but like you were saying, people can find me like visionary.ant, social media. I do post a lot of stuff on here, but also visionary.ant on Instagram.
Okay.
You can find me on Anthony Williams, Vivid Advisory on LinkedIn. Those are the 2 main places that I'm at. I'll eventually go onto other platforms, but I'm typically on Instagram and LinkedIn.
And people should watch your Instagram because you can see where you'll be in IRL.
Right.
When you're doing events?
When I'm doing events, I also post content consistently around different strategies.
I'm gonna use that shit all the time. IRL event.
IRL. We just IRL, baby.
Doesn't mean an IRL event. Like, what does that mean?
Yo, we should do that. I'm not gonna lie to you. IRL
event. Yeah, we should do that.
Sponsored by Vivid and
HGRN.
HGRN.
And Kevin be done with that. You know Kevin?
No.
The attorney? Kevin do?
No, let's do it. IRL.
Yeah, an IRL event.
IRL
all right, so
experiences.
we just said it. Ask Louis Omar, and anything you can find is me asking Louis Omar, but we will be doing IRL event come this summer.
Love that.
See you guys later.